Let me ask you a question. Do you have a great business idea, but you don't have the funding to get it off the ground? Or maybe you started your business, but it's flatlining and it needs a big transfusion of cash to jumpstart it. If any of this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Every day, entrepreneurs just like you think up great business ideas, and every day they push those ideas out of their mind because they don't have the cash to make it happen. Oh, sure, you've heard that getting funding is possible. You just need to put on your best suit, comb your hair, and pitch your idea to a bunch of venture capitalist sharks. Of course, you'll be lucky if you make it out of that meeting with your dignity intact. And if you actually strike a deal, you'll be really lucky if it doesn't require you selling your soul and giving away your firstborn child just to get a little cash for your business. I'm going to tell you, it's not worth it. Getting money from venture capitalists is like accepting blood money. You won't sleep a wink until you fulfilled the terms of their contract, and that's assuming those terms don't haunt you for the rest of your life. So maybe you're thinking you'll just turn to the so-called angel investors instead. But don't be fooled by the term angel. Angels are just venture capitalist sharks with a different name. They're still going to bleed you dry for all you're worth when your business takes off. All right, it's no wonder so many entrepreneurs keep shoving their big business dreams aside. Getting your hands on this sort of money is like treading water with a big anchor tied to your ankle. You'll be lucky if you don't drown in 5 minutes. So listen, forget about venture capitalists and angel investors and all those other impossible funding methods, because you're about to discover how to launch your business on a shoestring budget. Introducing the Shoestring Startups video training program, which shows you the same creative funding and bootstrapping methods used by some of the world's most successful companies. You don't need any money today to get started. You don't need to sell your soul to the venture capitalist vultures. You don't need to put on your best suit and try to impress your local banker. You don't even need to pass your hat around and beg for money from your family. Because when you use these proven financing and bootstrapping strategies you're about to discover, you'll get all the cash you need to launch and sustain your business during its startup and through its early growth phase. Now, these strategies aren't just fluffy feel-good theories either. These are proven, tested in the trenches strategies that others have used to launch businesses worth millions of dollars. These are the same strategies the biggest companies around use to get started. I'm talking about companies like Apple, Starbucks, TechCrunch, Plenty of Fish, Gawker, and so many more. These guys didn't start with a ton of money. Most of them started out dead broke. But they launched businesses that went on to become multi-million, and in some cases, even billion-dollar enterprises. Now you're about to discover these same strategies so you can get your own business dreams off the ground. So listen, inside this in-depth and entertaining video program, you'll get a crash course in some of the best bootstrapping strategies, creative funding ideas, and other finance tricks that there are. Let me give you an overview of what you get when you register for this course now. You'll find out why some people sabotage their business with a window dressing mentality, and how you can avoid this deadly mistake. You'll get a surprisingly simple way to prioritize expenses. This is a great way to hit the ground running when you launch your new business. You'll learn 3 surefire business investment strategies that you can put to work for you immediately to grow sales and revenue faster than you ever thought was possible. And get this, you'll discover 7 amazingly innovative bootstrapping strategies you can implement immediately to cut costs without cutting corners at all. Do you need to secure product and services at rock bottom cost? You'll find out how to do it inside this course. You'll also discover how to steal a page from the big companies' playbooks to get your products to market fast so you can start seeing a profit more quickly. Do you need cash fast? No problem. You'll discover 8 ingenious ways for you to get the funds you need to launch and grow your business without selling your soul to the venture capital vultures. You'll even learn a slick trick for turning your existing expertise into instant cash. You'll also learn a powerful, yet little-known way to raise tens of thousands of dollars. If you have a big idea, you'll definitely want to check out this eye-opening idea. Plus, you'll find out how to borrow money without paying through the nose in fees and interest rates. This trick alone is going to save you a ton of money in the long run. So listen, the bottom line is that this is a great course for anyone who could use an infusion of cash into their business. If you've ever had a business idea but didn't know where you'd get the funds you need to launch your business, this course is for you. If you've already started a business but it's stagnating because of lack of capital, this course is for you. If you want to take your business to the next level, but you're going to need some money to do it, then this course is for you. Look, I know a lot of people don't like thinking about money. They think business funding is a boring topic. But really, nothing could be further from the truth. And this course proves it. Because by the time you've finished watching these videos, your heart is going to be thumping with excitement as you realize that your wildest business dreams are easily within your reach. So let's make it happen together starting right now. All you have to do is click the buy button below this video, and in just a few minutes, you'll be watching the videos that are going to launch your biggest business dreams. So don't put your dreams on hold even a single moment longer. Click the buy button below right now to get started. You know, not all miracles just happen. Some are invented. Bob Richards said, "Ingenuity plus courage plus work equals miracles." And if you look around in the business world, you'll see miracles everywhere. Take the example of 3 businesses you've probably heard of: plentyoffish.com, Gawker.com, and TechCrunch.com. Now ask yourself, what do all 3 of these businesses have in common? For starters, all 3 of these companies are very big and very successful. TechCrunch is one of the most read tech sites in the world, which is no doubt one of the reasons AOL purchased it for a cool $30 million back in 2010. Gawker is a blog-based site that focuses on reporting news about celebrities and the media in Manhattan. Gawker is estimated to be worth about $150 million. Then take the site plentyoffish.com, which has grown to be one of the world's largest dating sites. This site has more than 38 million members, and it receives over 6 billion, that's with a B, 6 billion page views every month. Back in 2007, one person suggested this site might be worth upwards of $1 billion. The point is, these are all really successful companies, but the one unusual thing that ties them all together is that they were all built by bootstrapping. Now, what does that mean? It means these companies didn't start off by raising funds from venture capitalists or angel investors. Instead, the owners of these companies stretched their own resources, they looked for ways to save money, and constantly reinvested back into their businesses in order to grow. For example, Plenty of Fish was run by one man for several years before he even hired a team. And plenty of other bootstrapped companies were run by their founders with very little manpower and very little resources. Yet, these companies went on to become large, successful companies. Let's take another example. When Success Hive co-founders Simon Hodgkinson and Jeremy Gislason were launching their business, they didn't quit their day jobs. This in turn gave them the ability to reinvest 90% of their business profits back into the business during the first 2 years. Since then, they've grown their business, MemberSpeed Incorporated, and other ventures to 7-figure businesses. And you can do the same thing. And it starts with getting out of the startup mentality that so many people have. This is the mentality that you have to have everything lined up within the first couple months of your business. So what happens? People sink thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars on making sure they have the exact right business cards, letterhead, logo, web design, and everything else. They struggle and scrape by as both time and money seem to slip away from them. They get so immersed in planning that they never get the product to market, and they never make any money. This course is going to show you how to focus on what's important, so you can start making money a whole lot sooner than the average startup does. Plus, you'll also discover over a dozen surefire bootstrapping tips and funding secrets that you can use to build your business quickly and easily without selling your soul to the venture capitalist sharks. So let's get started, beginning with getting yourself in the right headspace when it comes to starting your business. And I'll see you in the next module. Creating the right headspace for success. We need to ask the question, are you just focusing on window dressing? Jim Rohn said something that I thought was excellent, and we all need to try to get a hold of this. He said success is neither magical nor mysterious. Success is the natural consequence of consistently applying the basic fundamentals. Now, here's the problem. A lot of people get a bit confused as to what the basic fundamentals really are. They prioritize things that should be low on their priority list. They let urgent things get in the way of doing the important things, and they wonder why they're so busy, yet they still can't seem to get even the smallest taste of success. Okay, let's imagine for a moment that you need to give a speech in 1 week, just 1 week. Every day for a week you prepare, you pick out the perfect shirt, you pick out the perfect pants, you get your hair styled so that you look great in front of the audience. You rest your voice so that a surprise case of laryngitis doesn't ruin your speech. Then just a few hours before the speech, you realize you've been so busy preparing to look good that you totally forgot to write the speech. Okay, this isn't going to have a good outcome. You scramble to dash something down, anything down on paper. You don't even have time to polish it before you have to give the speech. So naturally, what happens? You're going to flop. But you'll look fantastic in your new clothes as you're failing miserably. Now this might seem like a silly example to you because it's pretty unlikely anyone's going to imagine forgetting to write their speech. Yet, this is exactly what a lot of entrepreneurs do when it comes to starting up their business. That is, they focus on window dressing, and they totally forget to focus on what's really important. I knew a couple of women about 5 years ago who decided to start a business online. They spent weeks finding the perfect brandable domain name. They spent several more weeks developing the perfect logo. They spent even more weeks developing the perfect design for their website. Now, at least up to this point, they were getting things done. All right, the business was moving forward, even if it was moving dreadfully slow. But then they got held up. They went back and forth for a few more weeks, trying to decide what to call themselves on their business cards and in the About section of their still unpublished website. Should they call themselves founders? Should they call themselves CEOs? Should they give themselves some other clever name? Well, that's the last thing I heard about their business. These two women never did get around to figuring out their business model. They didn't know what they were even going to sell. They didn't know who they were even going to target. Okay? Instead, they spent all their time and their money on the window dressing aspects of the business. Just like the speechwriter who wore new clothes but didn't have a speech, these two women worked on creating new titles for themselves, but they had no business model. And as a result, they went nowhere. So that's what we're going to talk about in this module. In the next section, you'll find out how to prioritize so that you're working on the right things during the startup phase of your business. In the section after that, you'll find out about an insidious habit that can wreak havoc on daily productivity as well as your long-term success. I'll see you in the next section. As you just learned about in the last section, a lot of people get caught up in the window dressing aspects of their business. And while things like your web design and creating business cards are very important aspects of your business, there are other components that are even more important. And we're going to talk about prioritizing success using a simple little trick. So let me sum this up for you in a really easy way. The most important part of your business is getting the first customer. That's your number one priority. And that means everything you do and every business decision that you make should revolve around getting the first paying customer. Simply put, ask yourself if your current activity is geared toward getting your first customer. If not, work on the activity that is. It's a simple trick, but it's powerful. Now, you can see where the window dressing aspects may be important, but they shouldn't be the top priority when it comes to starting your business. Consider this. Your customers are going to want a good value for their money. They're going to want a decent product at a fair price. Okay, they're not going to care about some other things like what I've got listed here. Your first customer isn't going to care whether you call yourself a founder or a president. They're not going to care if your business card has a border or not. And no, I know it's hard to believe, but your first customer isn't going to care if your website had a 2-column design or a 3-column design. All right, these are the things that you can worry about later. But first, you want to make sure you just get that first customer. At some point, you're going to make all these decisions. You're going to take action on them. But when you're just starting out, These kind of items are really low on the priority list. One thing you can do is create a to-do list that includes every last thing you need to do to get your business off the ground. We're talking about creating logos, doing your market research, creating products, designing your sales funnel, picking your colors and developing your website, picking a name for your business, all right? Choosing a great slogan, creating your marketing plan, and of course, beginning to implement this marketing plan, all right? There's a whole bunch more things you're going to have to do. But once you have this overall to-do list put together, then you just rank it in order of importance. Simply ask yourself which tasks have the highest priority with regards to, landing your first customer. Now, when you sit down to work on your business, you'll know just how much time and money to invest in a particular task based on the priority of that task. For example, if you have a choice of working on tweaking your web design or creating a product, then which one would you choose? Right, creating your product. Because of these two particular tasks, creating the product is obviously the more important one when it comes to getting the first customer. If you have the choice of designing your business cards or setting up a pay-per-click advertising campaign, you're going to choose to set up the campaign. Again, the reason is because advertising is going to help you take steps to getting that first customer. Now, you still have to do the tasks that are lower priority. However, the key is that you want to focus on speed, meaning you get it done quickly, and that takes priority over perfection. Don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean you should put out shoddy work. That's totally not what I'm saying. You want to put out good work, but you want to do it fast, and that's what we'll investigate in more detail in the next section. So take a break, we'll see you there. All right, welcome back. Now I'm going to talk about gaining momentum with the right mindset. As you just discovered in the last section, you need to prioritize your startup tasks, with the emphasis being on focusing on those tasks which are going to get you your first customer, right? This means that sometimes you may feel like you're launching under less than perfect conditions. Now listen, I'm a bit of a perfectionist myself. I totally get it. I want everything to be just right. Maybe I feel like my logo isn't exactly conveying the right sentiment. Maybe my website could use a few tweaks here and there. Okay, maybe my sales letter needs a little polishing up. But I have news for you. It's never going to be perfect. You're never going to get every step of the process absolutely perfect. If you try to make it perfect before you launch, trust me, you know what's going to happen? You're never going to get this thing off the ground. Now, you may be thinking that only bootstrapping businesses are willing to put out a less than perfect product, or a less than perfect advertisement or a sales system, but that's simply not true. In fact, some of the biggest companies in the world do it. If that's good enough for them, then I'd say it's good enough for you and I also. Just take a look at Microsoft, which had a net income in the neighborhood of $17 billion just a few years ago. Surely a $17 billion company would pore over every single minute detail until it was absolutely perfect, right? You kind of think so, but if you're a PC user, then you know that that's not true. Microsoft is constantly sending out updates and patches to respond to security issues that arise over time, as well as functional issues. You know what that means? It means that Microsoft didn't release a perfect version of Windows, or probably any other software that they've ever published. They released a good version. Some of them have been great. Well, some of them not so great. But they released a version that was high quality anyway. But it was by no means perfect. You can follow their example by launching a good product, getting the money rolling in, and then going back to fix the problems. It often happens that you're not even aware of certain problems with your product or your processes until customers start using it. So don't hesitate to get the products in their hands even if it may be slightly flawed. You'll see the same thing happen across almost every industry. Take the example of car manufacturers. They put out good quality cars, right? Yet almost every model of car ends up having known issues. In some cases, the known issues may even be safety issues, in which case the company does a safety recall to bring the cars back in and fix the issue. But even if a safety issue doesn't exist, there likely are other known issues. For example, maybe the hinge on the passenger side vanity mirror is weak, so it breaks if you bring the visor up and down too many times. If you talk to a good mechanic, they can tell you on any given make or model of vehicle what some of the common problems are with that vehicle. They know this certain vehicle, the transmissions go out around 120,000 miles. This particular one, the head gasket goes at 70,000 miles. It's just the way it is. Could the car company possibly know that these problems were going to arise 100,000 miles down the road? Not likely. But the point is, the car company did release a good product. They released a high-quality product, but it wasn't perfect. It never is. So maybe you're wondering, why on earth these huge companies with deep pockets would release something that wasn't perfect? Well, the first point to realize is that even if the product or process isn't perfect, it is still high quality. In other words, these companies don't intentionally release subpar products, and you shouldn't either. They just know that eventually you have to stop tweaking and get the product to the market. And that brings us to the second point. Another thing the decision makers at these big companies know is that getting a product out to market is, as I've already alluded to, it's the best and fastest way to improve both the product and the process. You could spend month after month after month, even year after year, seeking perfection, right? You could endlessly tweak your product until you think it's perfect. You could endlessly tweak the web design until it has just the perfect colors. You could just about make yourself crazy tweaking your ads and polishing your sales letter. But other than the fact that you may let perfectionism get in the way of launching, the other big problem is that you don't know if your tweaks are actually making a difference. Okay? Think about that. What you think of as important work may just be busy work. Here's an example. If you spend weeks endlessly tweaking your sales letter headline, you're really just guessing about whether the tweaking is actually improving the headline, right? Maybe you have some copywriting experience, so it's an educated guess, but it's still just a guess. The truth is, the only way to know for sure if your headline or any other part of your sales process is working is to get it in front of customers and let them vote with their money. Consider this. You could come up with several good headlines and run a pay-per-click campaign to see which one gets the best results. Then you can further track and test to tweak your winners. And almost instantly, you're going to know the truth about your sales copy. Okay? Best of all, you'll be making money, making money, even as you go through this testing process. Then there's the alternative. You could spend weeks or months tweaking a sales letter without any idea as to whether your tweaks are even useful. Worse yet, you won't be making any money during those weeks or months. That's bad, but it gets worse. If you keep tweaking endlessly without launching the business, pretty soon the bill collectors are calling you and knocking on your door. Your electricity gets shut off, and now you can't work. Why? Because you're sitting in the dark without a computer. If you don't launch, you're going to go broke. The next thing you know, you're living in your parents' basement with orange Cheeto stains on your shirt, pizza boxes scattered about, and soda cans littering your desk. I've got a pizza box right here, so just having a pizza box is okay. But if you thought getting a date or maintaining a relationship was hard before, just wait until you tell that hottie that you're living with your parents in their basement. It's a scary thought, right? The point is, stop tweaking and just launch the business, because that's the best way to improve and find out what really works. And taking action is a great way to kick fear to the curb. And that's right, I said fear. Okay? The reason I bring up the F word is because fear is often the culprit behind perfectionism. It's also the reason why people procrastinate. But usually when you procrastinate, you feel guilty. You realize you're avoiding something else, and you get yourself to work, right? But perfectionism is an insidious disease. That's because it's socially acceptable, and it's even encouraged. So that means that it's easy to believe that perfectionism is a good thing when it comes to starting a business. It's easy to talk yourself into believing that the days you spent perfecting something are days well spent. You can rationalize that all the late nights are going to really pay off someday. But that perfectionism thing is a sneaky little booger, okay? It really is just fear disguising itself as productivity. You know why? It's because your business idea is so important to you. And once you launch this thing, you're going to be walking into unknown territory. And that can be scary. Anyone who started a new venture knows that it's true, okay? It is scary. You might have a fear of the unknown or maybe even a fear of success. I mean, what if your business really does take off? Your life is going to change, right? You're going to shoot yourself into an entirely different tax bracket. Your friends might look at you differently. They might come over begging for money. I don't know. But on the flip side, there might be this niggling fear of failure poking at the corner of your mind. This business is important to you. You hate to spend all this time and money on something that might flop, right? It would be disappointing, of course. Probably even a little bit embarrassing. But I want you to just forget about all that. Wipe those fears from your mind. Look at all the big successes in the world. In almost every single success story, you're going to find a backstory that includes hard times and failure. But most of those failures aren't truly failures. Instead, they're lessons. And those who are willing to risk a failure, or shall we say, risk learning a lesson through experience, are also the ones who tend to succeed faster and enjoy the biggest rewards. You see, there's absolutely nothing about your business that is a one-shot deal. If you don't do it right or perfectly the first time, it doesn't mean you're ruined. Of course not. It just means you figured out a way to not do something. So the next time you can do better. All right? And every time you learn one of these lessons and how not to do something, you just put yourself one step closer to success. So you want to stop thinking in black and white. Stop thinking in terms of absolutes or one-shot deals. All right? It's not your only shot. It's not your only opportunity. If you have problems moving forward, then you might have to sit down and brainstorm the reasons for that. There's a worksheet in the manual that accompanies this course, which is going to help you identify your fears and wave at them. Because when you shine a light in the dark corners, what's going to happen? Your fears are going to tend to scurry away like so many cockroaches. So the point is, snap yourself out of the perfectionism mindset. Fit yourself with the mindset of doing a good job, but using real experience as the true gauge and catalyst for improvement for yourself. It's the best way to gain momentum and move forward. I've got a few more thoughts I'd like to share with you on this topic of mindset, but let's go ahead and take a break. We'll cover it in the next section. You just learned about a couple of important parts of the startup mindset in this module. First, you discovered that the question you should always be asking yourself is whether the task you're working on is the best task for landing your first customer. Or is the task you're working on just window dressing? In other words, something that you can attend to later. Secondly, you found that sometimes fear manifests itself in the form of the socially acceptable disguise of perfectionism. But if you're honest with yourself, you'll find that perfectionism will only hinder your success. It's best to get the product to market and launch the business with the view of improving as you go, versus spending an inordinate amount of time making changes that you don't even know will be useful. Okay, some people aren't all that sure about whether these strategies will put them on the fast track to success. But look around. I bet you know people who have big dreams, but it seems like they never quite get their ideas off the ground. Okay, they're smart people. They have good ideas. They probably even have all the resources they need in order to launch. But they never do, and they never see success. And they always have great excuses as to why they never see success. And you know what it all boils down to? It's the mindset. People with a poor mindset see problems. Those with a good mindset see opportunities, and they see solutions. For example, some people might look at their bank account and decide that they can't launch a business properly because they don't have enough cash. But not you. You're taking this course because you don't see low cash as a problem. Instead, you see it as an opportunity to get creative. While it might be a little bit easier to have cash on hand or just write a check for everything you need, it's not nearly as fun. So we're going to go ahead and learn in the next module how to exercise your creativity to come up with the cash you need to get your business flying. I'll I'll see you there in a few seconds, okay? All right, we're moving on, and we're going to talk about bootstrapping your way to success. And here's a few of the subjects that I'm going to cover. Bootstrapping as problem solving, resisting the urge to splurge, 7 innovative bootstrapping strategies, pay close attention on that one, and launching on a shoestring budget. This is all good stuff. Let's learn a lot. Let's jump right in. Okay, back in the first module, we talked about some very successful businesses that started out by bootstrapping. Another business that falls into that category is GitHub.com. One of the co-founders of the company, Tom Preston Werner, had this to say about the topic. He said, bootstrapping is a way to do something about the problems you have without letting someone else give you permission to do them. The point of this is, set aside any excuses you have for not starting up your business. Just set them aside, okay? Money in particular isn't an excuse because there's always a way to work around the problem. There's always a way to do things that don't require a lot of money. And there's always ways to get your hands on the money you need. And you don't even have to sell your soul or your firstborn child to the venture capitalists, okay? That's what this module is all about. In just a few moments, you're going to learn tricks and strategies for bootstrapping your way to success. If companies like GitHub, TechCrunch, and Plenty of Fish did it, guess what? You can too. Let's start out with talking about reinvesting in your business. See you in the next section. Resisting the urge to splurge and other business growth strategies. You know what? You don't have to tell me. The topic of business financing can be a real big yawn. Okay? It makes you think of absent-minded professors with spinach in their teeth, yammering on and on in a monotone like Ben Stein in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Can anyone tell me why we should invest back in our businesses? Anyone? 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 Bueller? All right, forget about all that. Because talking about business financing really isn't the dry, burnt toast topic that everyone thinks it is. That's because this is really a take action kind of topic. This is about moving from the planning stage and jumping into action. So instead of doodling in your notebook and dreaming about what kind of house you're going to buy once your business takes off, you're actually going to start taking steps toward making that dream a reality. And I can't, personally, think of anything more exciting than that. So let's get started, beginning with the topic of reinvesting back into your business. The reason I wanted to start with this is because you're going to be like a Justin Bieber fangirl, squeeing when those first dollars start rolling in. You're going to be doing a little Snoopy happy dance, okay? You're going to be popping champagne bottles. You're going to feel like you hit the jackpot. I know I remember the first dollars I ever earned when I went into business on my own. And I'll always remember it. It was a big deal. You know, and the feeling of making that money for yourself, it doesn't grow old. You know what else? You're going to have a strong urge to pull every single one of those first dollars out of your business and splurge on something. You might feel like rewarding yourself by taking yourself out on a luxury vacation or buying some toy you want or totally spoiling that special person in your life. But you know what? You shouldn't do it. Matter of fact, don't do it. Go ahead and treat yourself to a pizza or something if you need to, but don't go crazy. That's because of this first business growth strategy that I'm about to share. If you want your business to grow quickly, then you need to invest in it. Not only does this include investing in advertising, but it also includes investing in outsourcing or even hiring employees if you need to. Think about this, okay? For every task you do, it might take you days, weeks, or even months to complete. For example, how long would it take you to write a decent sales letter? If you already have some good copywriting chops, it might take you about a week. If you don't know good copy from a piece of garlic toast, though, I guarantee you it's going to take a lot longer. There's a solution. Hire a professional copywriter. Not only is this person likely to do a much better job than you, but it frees up your time to focus on some other important aspect of your business. That means you can grow your business more quickly than ever if you outsource. Or take the example of advertising. Search engine optimization is one decent way that you can bring traffic into your site, especially if you can dominate your competitors with regards to the top search engine terms in your market. But the problem is, good search engine optimization takes a lot of time. You need to create good content, you need to gather good backlinks, and then you need to sit around and pretty much twiddle your thumbs while you wait for Google to even recognize that you are there and rank your site. Okay, so search engine optimization may be part of your overall marketing strategy, but you'll grow your business much more quickly if you can put some of your money into the venture. For example, you can invest in a Google AdWords campaign. You can literally, and I'm not joking here, literally start pulling traffic into your site in a matter of hours. The point is, no matter what aspect of your business that we're talking about, your business will grow more quickly if you can funnel some dollars into the right places. It's just that easy. That's why you should reinvest your profits back into the business to help build and maintain your momentum. Now, this doesn't mean you have to reinvest every single dollar of profit. Take the example of Simon Hodgkinson and Jeremy Gislason, who started out by reinvesting 90% of their profits right back into their business. This allowed the business to grow quickly. And even today, Simon and Jeremy still reinvest 50% of their profits right back into the business, which keeps the business thriving while others around them just sit and stagnate. You might recall earlier how I talked about one of Simon's personal strategies for bootstrapping his first business. This is going to bring us to our next point. Retain your day job. I know, blah, who wants to do that, right? One of the reasons you're starting your own business is because you want to kiss your day job goodbye and start working for yourself. You dream about it. You fantasize about the moment when you turn in your resignation. I know, I've done this, okay? You can just picture yourself set up in your home office, getting up when you want, going to bed when you want, taking a break when you want, and doing everything else in a truly free way. Okay? It's awesome. It's a great dream. And you'll get there, but hold up. Hang on. Don't quit your day job yet. I don't want to rain on your parade, but one of the best things you can do for yourself is to retain your day job if you have one. You know why? Because then your day job pays your bills. And if your bills are already taken care of, then you can use the aforementioned growth strategy, which is to invest your profits back into your business. It's impossible to invest 90 or 100% of your profits from your business back into the business for growth when you have to have the money to just keep the lights on. Okay? Plus, retaining your day job means you're not going to have to worry about becoming the guy with the Cheeto-stained shirt who lives in his mama's basement. You can see kind of where this would be a good thing, right? So hang on to that job, all right? Just remember, it's not forever. It's just until your business really gains some momentum and takes off, and you can support yourself with the profits, but still reinvest a healthy chunk of the profits back into the business. And that's going to bring us to our last point. Once you get through this course and start applying the bootstrapping strategies, you're going to find that you do indeed have money to invest in your business. But just tossing money into your business isn't going to magically make your business grow. Okay? The key is, as with anything, you've got to invest wisely. Remember the analogy you learned about earlier in the course with regards to preparing to give a speech? The person in that analogy could spend all his or her money investing in a new suit of clothes, but it isn't going to make the speech any better, is it? Think about it. Does anyone go on and on about what Martin Luther King Jr. was wearing the day he gave his I Have a Dream speech? No, of course not. Everyone focused on the speech itself. King's clothing added to a great presentation, but his speech was great because of his words and his passion, not because of the clothes he wore. So someone who's writing a speech might prioritize like this. First, write and polish the speech. Okay? If this requires hiring a speechwriter, so be it. It's the best investment someone could make in creating a memorable and inspiring speech. If you're great at writing and you can do it yourself quickly, by all means, go ahead. But if it's something you're going to struggle with, let somebody else write it, and you put your passion into delivering it. Okay, the speech is the number one priority. But when, and only when the speech is ready, you can invest in the window dressing, all right? If the person has money left over after getting the speech written, then he can invest in presentation by buying new clothing to make a great impression. or maybe some kind of a sign or prop or background that can just make the whole thing look great. Okay, this is the same kind of thing that you have to do with your business startup. First, you want to prioritize your business tasks. We already talked about this step in the previous module, where you focus on those tasks that put you closer to getting your first customer. Secondly, create a budget so that you can invest in these tasks according to their priority. This means that the high priority tasks, such as product creation or advertising, are going to get more resources than the lower priority tasks. Make sure you check the manual that accompanies this course, as you're going to find some planning sheets that will walk you through the process of setting up your business budget and investing in your high priority tasks. However, you might want to take it a step further. That's because now is a good time to think about your household budget as well. If you're like most people, which is me included, you can probably find places to trim the fat. Okay? For example, look at the kinds of things that you might be able to scale back on. Do you have the premium cable or satellite TV package with the scores of channels that you probably don't even watch? You might consider scaling back to a smaller package. Also look at what kind of little drips in your budget you can eliminate. Okay, do you feel rich at the beginning of the month and poor at the end with no real solid idea of where your cash is going? In that case, you might want to spend a week or two tracking every single expense. You might be totally blown away by how relatively small things like a daily cup of coffee, okay, these are the drips, can add up to a big monthly or yearly expense. And once you become aware of these little expenditures, it's easier to get them under control. Maybe you're paying high interest rates on certain loans. You might want to go ahead and talk to your banker about refinancing at a lower rate. If you have other people in your household, then obviously you're going to have to bring them into this discussion and make some compromises. Just remind everyone that your proposals are only temporary measures while you work to get your business off the ground. They're not going to be forever. No one has to sacrifice anything for the rest of their lives, okay? Unless, of course, they want to. So hanging on to your day job, reinvesting into your business, and creating a business budget are the first steps in bootstrapping your way to success, okay? But these strategies, I'm telling you, they're just the tip of the iceberg. Listen in on the next video in the course as you discover 7 solid bootstrapping strategies. I'll see you there in just a few moments. All right, you ready to keep rolling? We're going to look at 7 innovative bootstrapping strategies. Maybe, just maybe, your bank account feels a little bit too small to launch a business. But here's the thing. What you lack in money, you can make up with in ingenuity. And that's why I'd like to share with you 7 bootstrapping strategies that you can use to help get your business off the ground. The first strategy is simple. You barter with others. Okay? You have products and services that other people need. They have products and services that you need. That's where bartering comes in. Instead of buying the products and services you need with money, you trade your product, skills, time, and talent. For example, let's suppose you're a great writer, but you'd rather cover yourself in honey and lay down on a fire ant hill before you attempt to fiddle with website coding. It's reasonable, right? The solution is find a website developer and trade your writing skills for his or her coding skills. Okay? It's a mutually beneficial arrangement for both of you. It's not always easy to find the perfect bartering arrangement, but there's some good ways to do it. One good way to find someone who is interested in bartering is to place classified advertising on sites like Craigslist, and they actually do have a dedicated bartering section, or tradeaway.com. You can also check out barter networks like ourgoods.org. Another way to find someone to barter with is to connect with those who possess the skills you need on niche forums. You know, if you're looking for somebody to do that coding for you, you might find a forum where programmers hang out. You can post what you're looking for and see who comes back and wants to talk with you about it. Okay. You can also go to social media sites like Facebook or Twitter. You might post a general announcement with your proposal, or you might contact people directly to see if they're interested in bartering. This works particularly well if you know somebody has the specific skill you need and you have a reason to believe that you can fulfill a need of theirs. So bartering can be a great way to get the things accomplished that you need to have done without a cash outlay. Let's go ahead and take a look at another strategy. The idea here is to think big, but start small. If you took the first course in this series, then you're already well familiar with the value that we place on thinking big, but starting small. And if you haven't yet taken this course, then I strongly urge you to register now by going to successhive.com. That's because you'll find out how to develop and test your business idea in as little as 48 hours. The point is, you don't need to invest a ton of money or even a whole lot of time in order to get your business off the ground. Instead, you can focus on putting the basics in place with an eye for expanding everything in the future. For instance, while the founders of Twitter obviously had to do coding to launch their site, they didn't spend a fortune creating a logo. Instead, they used an illustration from a stock photo site and just tweaked it a little bit. Okay? Likewise, you can focus your resources on the parts of your business that are most important while using less expensive alternatives for other parts. Let's imagine somebody that has a delivery business, for instance. The most important thing to their business is having the orders so they'll actually have things to deliver. How they get them there, while it is important, it's not as important, so they could drive a less expensive vehicle. There's no point in having a Mercedes to make deliveries if you have nothing to deliver. Another example, you might start by building a website using the free WordPress platform. But once you start making profits, you can reinvest the money back into your business to create a more customized, higher-end website. You might literally start your business in your garage or in a home office with an eye to the future of growing into having employees and needing a warehouse or a corporate office. Okay? You might start out with distribution in your own town with an eye towards gaining national distribution in some large chains. Now, the launching of your overall business is one thing, as that tends to require a lot of resources to put everything in place all at once. Now, depending on what kind of business model you have, you may also launch products or even services individually, which brings us to the next point. Launch small. If your business model includes product creation, then you probably invest money into the process, right? This includes everything from market research to the actual product creation itself. So when it comes time to launch, especially if this is your first product, you may find your advertising budget feels a wee bit small. But that's okay. The way to overcome this requires 2 steps. The first is you can use advertising methods that don't require an upfront expense. You're going to learn more about this in bootstrapping strategy number 5. So that's something to look forward to in just a few minutes. Secondly, reinvest profits immediately back into your business. I know of someone that has become an expert in a particular form of lead acquisition, okay? For years now, they've rolled 100% of their profits from this activity back into their system, and the results of the compounding effect have been absolutely staggering. Okay, an example is something like this. Maybe you start with a small Google AdWords campaign. You can immediately reinvest the profits back into AdWords to run a larger campaign. You can then reinvest the profits from the larger campaign back into AdWords, as well as media buys or other forms of advertising. If you keep reinvesting the profits, you're going to gain momentum quickly. This works, I'm telling you, this works incredibly well. Once you've launched your first product, however, then the advantage you'll have is your buyers list. Whenever you launch a new product thereafter, you can promote it to your list first. And as your list of responsive buyers grows, your profits are going to grow also. You might even take the profits you make from your list and plunge them into paid advertising to help your business grow more quickly. All right, now let's look at the next strategy. Viral marketing. We hear a lot said about things going viral, don't we? Well, viral marketing is a form of advertising where you let your target market carry your market message for you. In other words, somebody else is doing the work. One good example of viral marketing are all of those YouTube videos that people send around to their friends. Another good example is a Facebook contest where people need to like or share content in order to be eligible to win a prize. Of course, in that last example, there's a strong incentive to spread the marketing message, which also helps. However, you don't need to promise people a chance to win something in order to get them to share content. And that's because when something is really useful, entertaining, weird, controversial, or just plain different, people tend to naturally share the report, video, blog post, infographic, cartoon, whatever else it is with their friends. You can no doubt think of countless examples from your own life. Okay? Just think about how many times you've found something awesome and shared it with your friends, or how often they've shared something awesome with you. Okay, this has a compounding effect. You share it with one of your friends, or let's say several of your friends, and each of those persons shares it with just a couple of people. And then each of those people shares it with a few people. Okay? This is why it's called viral marketing. It explodes just like a virus in a population. It doesn't get handed from one person to another individual, to another individual, to another individual. It grows exponentially, being passed from one to a group, and then from each of those group to another group, and so on. An example is companies that advertise during the Super Bowl in the United States now put their ads online. Some companies, like GoDaddy, get publicity by creating ads that are too racy for television. So they upload these commercials online. The free publicity draws people to the site, but the novel, controversial, or racy commercials get people sharing the links with their friends. That's viral marketing. As you can probably see, you don't need to be a struggling, cash-strapped startup in order to use viral marketing. Okay? Some of the biggest and wealthiest companies, both online and offline, embrace it. And that's because of the following two reasons. First, it's a cost-effective form of advertising. You may need to invest money in creating the content, and you may even need to invest some money in getting the campaign kickstarted. However, once you get it in front of enough people, it'll take on a life of its own as the viral effect kicks in. The second reason so many companies use viral marketing is because it's extremely effective, since friends are sharing the content. That's because of something called social proof. People are simply much more open to something they get from a friend, as opposed to something they see advertised from a third-party stranger. All right? For example, you might see an ad on Facebook that tells you to go watch a video or check out a cute photo. You may or may not do it, depending on your interests, but if a friend posts about the same video on their Facebook page, or if they personally email the link to you, you are much more likely to check it out, especially if you share interests with that friend. Their recommendation becomes your reason to check it out. Okay? That's why viral marketing is so powerful. To get a feel for what works, just study the videos that your competitors are putting on YouTube. Visit their Facebook pages to see which posts are getting the most shares and likes. Or you can go to their blogs, see what kind of posts are generating discussion and getting people clicking on the social sharing button. And search for their names and links in Google, as that will give you an idea of what's being shared in your niche. Then just take a note of what your market responds to. Do they seem to respond best to things like blog posts, like a top 10 list? What about infographics, cartoons, videos or audios, reports, or maybe free tools, such as a WordPress plugin or a free phone app? Also, take note of the flavor of the viral content. You need to ask what appeals to your market. Do they respond to controversy, usefulness, humor, novelty, or maybe something else entirely? All right, once you have a feel for what works in your market, then you can start experimenting. Keep in mind that something truly unique tends to work the best. So don't model your viral content or tool after something that's already been done. You can use the same format, such as a video, and flavor, such as something humorous, but don't mimic or copy the content itself. Create something new, something that your users are likely to feel is share-worthy. Also, once you've created your viral content or tool, keep in mind that you're going to need to kickstart the viral effect. This means that you need to get in front of as many people as possible in the beginning. This includes emailing your list about it, blogging about it, telling your social media contacts about it, and getting your business partners to tell their prospects and visitors also. Now, while viral marketing does tend to be very low cost or even free, you can use paid advertising, even if your ad budget seems small. That's our next strategy. But since this section is getting a little on the long side, let's go ahead and take a break. We'll split it up and come back with strategy number 5 in just a moment. Okay, we're still talking about the 7 innovative bootstrapping strategies, and we're on strategy number 5, which is use pay later marketing. What we're talking about here are advertising systems that typically don't require an upfront fee. In most cases, you don't have to pay unless you get results. One of the best examples of this is affiliate marketing. This is where you offer your affiliates a commission for every paying customer that they send your way. The beauty of this method is that you don't have to spend a single dime unless the traffic results in a sale. Then you send the referring affiliate an agreed upon cut of the profits. Okay, pretty simple. So you're only paying for results this way. Another way to approach this is to look for advertising methods that don't require any upfront fee, okay? The idea here is to use your profits in order to pay for the advertising. One example of this sort of pay later advertising is when you sell something on eBay. eBay bills you for all your placement and success fees just once a month, rather than having you pay at the time that you create your ad. So if you're low on cash, you can run eBay ads, collect the money from your buyers, and then pay your eBay bill with the cash you received. eBay is not the only site that works this way, but it is definitely one of the biggest players in the game. Another example of pay later marketing is Google AdWords, which has a post-pay option also. If you use this option, then you pay once every 30 days. However, you need to know if you exceed your billing limit, which say might be $500, then you'll be billed sooner. Okay? This is a great option if you're low on the funds required to pay the upfront fees. However, it can be pretty risky, especially if you're new to Google AdWords. That's because it's pretty easy to blow through your budget without making very many sales. This happens especially if the keywords you choose to bid on aren't targeted enough, or if your sales letter doesn't convert well. So you should only use this pay later strategy if you're confident, absolutely confident in your ability to turn your traffic into buyers. Otherwise, you might end up with an advertising bill at the end of the month that you're not going to be able to afford. And that stinks. You don't want to do that, right? Another good pay later strategy is to arrange JVs, or joint ventures as they're called. This is when 2 or more business people work together for a mutual benefit. While you might not have to pay money to your business partner, you will have to pay in some manner, such as by returning a favor. Okay? For example, your partner might agree to advertise your product on his blog today. In return, you'll have to advertise your partner's product on your blog also. This is called a co-promotion, and it's one of the more common joint venture arrangements. Another example of a joint venture is when you create content with a partner. For example, you might do a webinar together, where you each promote your own products at the end, or you may join forces to create viral content together. Maybe one of the partners is good at creating content and the other one is excellent at sales material and copywriting. Okay, that's a good combination to bring together for mutual benefit. Okay, there are plenty of ways you can do joint ventures with others. It's pretty unlimited. While they rarely cost money out of pocket, you do have to pay in some form or another by sharing your resources. It could be your time, your talent, or traffic. But it is an effective marketing method for those low on cash. All right, now that we've got that, let's go ahead and look at the next bootstrapping strategy, and that is crowdsourcing. Usually, when you outsource a task, you pick out a specific individual, or maybe a small group of people, that are going to perform specific tasks or services for you. Crowdsourcing is different because you solicit services from a large group of non-specific people, often those who are members of a specific community. Contributors may be paid with cash, prizes, rights to the end result, or maybe even just recognition that they did a good job, right? One example of crowdsourcing is a site called 99 Designs, where logo designers compete to create a logo for anyone who posts a project. The winning designer is awarded the cash. So as you can imagine, the projects with higher awards tend to gather the most response. A prime example of crowdsourcing is Wikipedia, where people from all over the world contributed to hundreds of thousands of topics to create a large reference site. And many of those same people work without any kind of pay or really any recognition to update it, to add new things. It's really sort of the ultimate thing in crowdsourcing. It's huge. Still another example of crowdsourcing, a little bit different way of doing it, comes from Leo Babauta, who's the founder of the site Zen Habits. Babauta wrote the book, The Effortless Life, a concise manual for contentment, mindfulness, and flow. But he didn't write it alone. Okay? Instead, he wrote it publicly using Google Docs. And he allowed others to edit the book and add their own contributions. The point is, you don't need to have a lot of money in order to get great end results, if you're willing to let go of some of the control you have over a project. Now let's go ahead and look at one more bootstrapping strategy. Utilizing freemium tools. The chances are you're going to need some software and other tools to set up your business, right? However, you don't need to pay full price. That's because a lot of companies offer what's called freemium versions of their tools. While these tools may have limited functionality or otherwise be restricted, such as only be able to use them for a certain amount of time, they usually give you exactly what you need to get started. For example, the email service provider MailChimp provides a free account. There's a catch though, but it's not a big problem. It's only free for the first 2,000 subscribers, and you're limited to how many emails you can send out per month. However, it's a good option for anyone who's just getting started. By the time most people hit the 2,000 subscriber cap, they're going to be making enough money to easily upgrade to the full version of MailChimp. Another example of a freemium product includes the countless free WordPress themes and plugins that are available to bloggers. Sometimes the plugins come with limitations which can be removed with an upgrade to a pay license. Likewise, the paid themes tend to come with more features, such as better support, the ability to remove the creator's link at the bottom of the theme, and similar features. But as you go and look at some of these, you'll be surprised at how excellent some of these free products really are. Okay? Another example of a freemium product is Skype. I use this one all the time. You can use this software to talk with your clients for free, either by text, voice, even video. It can be used for screen sharing. It can be used for doing technical support, all kinds of things. If you want to use Skype to call your clients' phones directly, though, or if you want to have multi-person conference calls and video chats, then you can upgrade to their paid model. I personally find that the free version does everything I need it to do. So you can't beat that, right? Look at iPhone and Android apps also. There are loads of phone apps that offer excellent functionality for free. Usually you can get by just fine on the free versions. I know sometimes I wish an app could do a certain thing, and I find out that it can if I upgrade to the paid version. That's no problem. I've usually had plenty of time to get to know it and see if it meets my needs. If it does, I'm more than happy to pay up. The point is, a lot of companies offer their services for free. When you start researching options for tools, always check first to see if a free or even a low-cost version is available to you. Now let's go ahead and wrap things up here, and I'll see you in the next section. All right, just like that, you've learned 7 creative strategies for bootstrapping your way to business success. And these include bartering, starting up small, launching small, using viral marketing, pay later advertising, taking advantage of that, crowdsourcing, and also using freemium tools. And you also learned that once the money comes in, you shouldn't run off to Vegas and blow it on beer, poker, and luxury suites. This is a common and deadly problem that will stop business growth dead in its tracks. It's tempting to some, but you need to avoid these short-term pleasures in order to grow your business over the long term. Instead, you need to keep the momentum going in your business by reinvesting the profits right back into marketing, product development, tools, your staff, and your daily operations. Once you've reinvested and your business is growing consistently, then you can treat yourself with what's left over. That's the time to splurge on something that's more than a pizza, okay? While you can operate on a shoestring budget, you do need some cash to get your business off the ground. And the more money you have to apply to your business, especially if you apply it wisely, the faster your business is going to grow. The good news is that even if you don't have any cash on you today, you can get the money you need. That's what you'll find out how to do in the next module. I'll see you there in a few moments. Okay, let's keep forging ahead here. In this module, I'm going to talk to you about just a few things. The first being little money plus much ingenuity, the advantages of that. Also, you're going to learn a number of creative ways to find alternative funding for your business. And lastly, I've got a few thoughts on unleashing your ingenuity. So let's go ahead and jump right in here. The English writer Arnold Bennett once said, "Much ingenuity with a little money is vastly more profitable and amusing than much money without ingenuity." You know, he's right. And that's why you've been learning about how to bootstrap your way to business success. However, the other cool way to utilize your ingenuity is to put it to work to get the money you need. Let's consider the example of Clayton Christopher, who is one of the co-founders of Sweet Leaf Teas. After coming off of a road trip in 1998, Christopher came to the realization that not much bottled tea tastes like homemade tea. In other words, it didn't really taste all that great. So he set about making organic teas that taste like homemade tea. That's pretty simple, and it's smart. Okay, he wasn't rolling in money though, but he believed in his business. So he used a grant from his dad, along with the last $10,000 that he had, to get his business off the ground. His startup expenses were really pretty minimal. They included about $1,000 for a computer and printer, $3,000 for an old van, and another $3,000 for some bare bones equipment. And when I say bare bones, I really mean that. Christopher started out by brewing tea in pillowcases and transferring the tea using garden hoses that he got at Home Depot. I mean, that's just, well, think of it. He did what he could with what he had. Pretty humble beginnings, right? But from these humble beginnings, Sweet Leaf Tea grew up to be a $12 million enterprise by about 2008. And just a couple short years later, it was bought out by Nestle. Why can't you do the same thing? The point is, you can, all right? Like Christopher, you don't need to have a huge bank account in order to get started. You just need to get a little creative. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next section. I'll see you there. All throughout this course, you've been learning about the same types of strategies that Sweet Leaf Tea founder Clayton Christopher used to get his business off the ground. And that is to start small and reinvest your profits as you go. If you use that strategy, along with the following funding strategies, you're going to quickly discover there are no obstacles to growing your business. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first method here. Digging into your savings. Ooh, this isn't glamorous, I know. And it's not a funding method that's a big secret, obviously. Yet, for whatever reason, some people don't even consider dipping into their savings to make their entrepreneurial dreams come true. Why not, though? Look at Clayton Christopher, who used his own savings to start a business that went on to become a multi-million-dollar beverage company. He believed in himself, and he believed in his business model. This is key. He was willing to risk his own money because he knew it was going to be worth the risk. So let me ask you, do you have this level of confidence in your business? If not, you need to do some market research, okay? And you need to do some testing to determine if your business idea is even viable. And the best way to learn how to do this is by taking one of our other Success Hive courses, which shows you how to brainstorm, refine, and test a business idea in as little as 48 hours. You can register for that course by going to the URL shown on your screen. It's www.successhive.com. Our second method is talking to friends and family. This is a pretty common method when it comes to funding a startup business. The benefit is that even though you're getting a loan from your friends and family, you're not selling your soul to them like you would the venture capitalists. You might feel a little bit uncomfortable asking friends and family for money, right? However, keep in mind that you don't need to ask just one person for the full amount. Instead, you can spread the risk around for your friends and family by getting smaller amounts from multiple people. Do take note, though, just because you're asking money from friends and family doesn't mean you should do that casually. Remember, you're starting a business, so draft a loan agreement that shows your professionalism. They're going to appreciate that. This means you should specifically state how and when you're going to pay the money back. Creating this sort of agreement will allow your friends and family to feel more at ease about loaning you the money. Okay, that's a pretty basic way of getting the funds you need. Let's go ahead and start looking at some of the more interesting methods. How about crowdfunding? Crowdfunding refers to having many contributors giving you small amounts of money, rather than having just a few people giving you large amounts of money. And unlike the venture capitalist sharks who require your blood and your very soul in exchange for their money, your crowdfunding contributors aren't going to make you sign your name in blood, and they're not going to request that you hand over your firstborn child. Instead, your contributors might be satisfied with a variety of both tangible and intangible rewards, things like simple recognition. How about you give them t-shirts? Maybe if they're in your local area, you could take them to dinner. Or a popular one is to give them a free product or service once you've launched. You can give them similar rewards to this. Use your imagination and get creative. To get an idea of what works in your industry, just look at what similar fundraisers are already offering and how well people are responding to it. To get your fundraising campaign off the ground, all you have to do is set up your project at one of the most popular crowdfunding sites, and here's several of those. They include Indiegogo.com, Kickstarter.com, Crowdfunder.com, and Prosper.com. Take note that these fundraising sites all work best when you promote your project. In other words, you don't want to just upload your project and rest on your laurels. You need to get out there on Facebook, Twitter, and other social media to promote your project. Blog about it. Tell your list about it. Stop people on the street corner and tell them to check it out. All right? In short, let your enthusiasm for your own project be contagious. Now let's take a look at another good fundraising method. Method number 4, just sell your unwanted items. Picture yourself sitting in a webbed lawn chair in your yard while people stream in and pick through your belongings. Then they're going to haggle with you until you mark down your $2.50 plates to a mere $1.25. No, not exactly what you had in mind when it comes to selling your unwanted items, right? The good news is you don't actually have to have a yard sale to unload your junk. I mean, you can if you want to, if you're into that kind of thing, great. But I found you can get a lot more money by using sites like eBay.com and Craigslist.org. Now, when I say junk, I don't mean that literally. No one's going to buy your broken MP3 player or your old worn-out shoes. But surely you have things lying around your house that you don't use often. You certainly wouldn't miss the items if you sold them. A few examples. Do you really need the fancy espresso machine that you only use once a year just to impress your in-laws? Probably not. Are you seriously ever going to use that treadmill? You know, the one that has a bunch of dust built up on it and you're using it as a clothes rack? Doubtful. Just sell it. How much do you really play with that PlayStation or Wii? And how much will you play it once your days and nights are consumed with launching your business? Probably not much. In short, just think about downsizing a bit when it comes to your possessions. Even if you love something, it can't be that great if you only use it on rare occasions, right? And if you really end up missing it that much, once your business is up and running, just buy yourself another one. No big deal. Now the key to selling stuff on either eBay or Craigslist is to keep in mind that no one else knows except for you how wonderful this stuff is. Okay? It doesn't matter if you're selling an average wall clock or an antique vase. It's up to you to let people know how great it is. I'm going to give you 4 tips here for posting your stuff on Craigslist and eBay. First, you want to make sure you use compelling titles. Your title's got to do 2 things. First, it needs to be descriptive enough to get people to click on it. Secondly, it needs to include keywords that people might be searching for. For example, something simple like CD collection is just not very descriptive or compelling. Instead, how about something like Amazing Justin Bieber Shrine? It includes CDs, autographs, and t-shirts. Now, that's a good title because it describes what you have. True, that particular title also makes us question the seller's sanity, but that's neither here or there. Secondly, you want to take lots of good pictures. A picture in this case really is worth 1,000 words. So take pictures of your items from every possible angle, front, back, sides. Show the inside if you can of something. You may even take a video. Either way, the point is to show your buyers exactly what they're getting, flaws and all. Your pictures and your videos should be a good substitute for the buyer actually holding the item in their hands and looking at it. It's important for both you and the buyer to see exactly what they're getting, with no makeup or lipstick on it. Just warts and all. Let them see it. Third, get descriptive, okay? Take a look at eBay and you'll see some items that should be popular and sell well, yet they have very few or no bids at all. One of the biggest reasons for this is because the seller offered very little description of the product. Again, your prospective buyers want to know everything about the product, including both the good and bad points. They want to know how old it is, how much it's been used, if it has any flaws, if you've ever had any problems with it, how big it is, how much it weighs. I mean, you can go on. Take the time to tell them everything you know about it. Prospective buyers also want to know everything about the payment and shipping terms. In particular, they want to know how much shipping is and how fast you're going to ship the item out. And finally, just be honest. Pretend that you're selling your item to a dear, sweet old grandmother. You tell her everything she needs to know about the item. Same thing applies to selling online. Be honest by sharing the flaws and everything. Not only does this build trust and get people bidding up your item, it's also going to result in good feedback for you, and that's important. Okay, so you've completely cleared out your house, your garage and attic, and you still need some funds. Well, let's take a quick break and come back with a few more strategies. Welcome back, and here's another strategy to consider. Many of us are a bit of a lone wolf. You might want to do this business your own way, okay? You'd rather have full control over all the decisions and the direction of the business. Hey, if you really feel that way, then maybe getting a business partner isn't the best idea for you. I mean, are you a total control freak? And does your significant other complain that everything is your way or the highway? If you're not bordering on the obsessive with regards to control, then getting a business partner is something to seriously consider. And that's not just because of the money. If you find someone who's also smart and experienced, then you're going to get the added benefit of having someone to bounce ideas off of, help you make the best decisions, and even help you with some of the work. Seriously, it can be a great way to go. So what you need to do first is decide what type of business partner you're really looking for. Ask yourself, are you mainly looking for someone who can contribute financially? Are you looking for someone who has experience in your specific industry? Are you looking for someone who has resources in your industry? This would be things like connections with other business owners, mailing lists, social media contacts, lead generation systems, connections with suppliers, and so on. Again, the idea is to figure out how much you want this other person actually involved in the day-to-day operations. Once you know what it is exactly that you want in a business partner, then you can start looking for just the right person, and here's how you're going to do it. First, approach people in the industry whom you already know and admire. This is really one of the best ways to find a business partner because a person is more likely to say yes since they already know you, right? It just makes sense. Since you've already developed a relationship, then your business relationship is built upon that respect and trust for each other. You'll also find that this is a very common way to build a successful business. Just think of some of the big success stories you know where two or more people who already knew each other built a business together. Right off, I can think of Larry Page and Sergey Brin. They knew each other before they decided to start Google together. Simon Hodgkinson and Jeremy Gislason worked together and had a lot of mutual respect for each other before they joined forces to create MemberSpeed Incorporated and SuccessHive.com. Bill Gates and Paul Allen knew each other before founding Microsoft. Okay, the list goes on. But the point here is plenty of friends, or even just acquaintances, have gone on to build great companies together. You can also ask for referrals. If you know people in the industry, but these people don't want to join your business, or they're not otherwise suitable as a business partner, then you might ask them to introduce you to their friends. You'll also want to befriend prospective business partners. In other words, get out there, start networking, start getting your name out, start becoming visible in the niche or industry that you intend to work in. This includes becoming a contributing member of forums and other communities where leaders are already active, commenting on blogs that belong to prospective business partners, attending events such as trade shows and industry conferences. Once you start raising your visibility and getting some name recognition, then you can start up private dialogues with industry leaders and business people. Also, make sure you're using social media. In particular, you can use LinkedIn to network with other professionals that are in your industry. You'll also want to check out Facebook, especially the relevant pages and groups in your industry. If you're new to your industry and don't know much about its leaders or business people, then be sure to do your due diligence before you propose any business ideas to anyone. This means thoroughly researching the individual and their companies online. You want to make sure the person is reliable, trustworthy, and professional. Secondly, remember that even if you're asking a friend to join you in a business venture, you need to tell them what's in it for them. In other words, what benefits are they going to receive in exchange for the money, time, and other resources that they're contributing to the business? The best way to demonstrate these benefits to another business person is to show him or her your market research. Show that there is a demonstrated need and desire for your product or service. Show that the market is already spending money. And of course, show your prospective partner your profit projections. Maybe having a business partner really isn't your thing. That's all right. Then you may want to consider some of the upcoming options. How about using cash windfalls? Sometimes when people get an unexpected windfall or otherwise come into some extra cash, they splurge with it. Remember, we already talked earlier about resisting the urge to splurge, but that's the first thing some people do. They use it for a vacation, a new big screen TV, or some other personal pleasure. However, now that you're thinking about starting up a business, the first thing you should think about with regard to your windfalls is how can this money be applied to starting or growing your business? So what are we talking about with regards to windfalls? I'm going to give you a few examples of that. What about receiving an inheritance? Listen, I know this is something you probably don't want to even think about, but inevitably, the people close to you do die. And sometimes when this happens, you might get a check. It's not the type of thing that makes you want to dance in the streets. I know. I get it. It's not a happy time. But using the money to help build a business that helps others is a wonderful way to honor your loved one's memory and putting it to a good use that's going to last rather than just throwing it away on goodies. What about winning the lottery? You don't have to win some giant Powerball jackpot or even win $1 million in order to do something great. Even smaller winnings, such as $1,000 or so, can be put to great use in starting up your business. How about getting a tax refund? It's never fun to overpay on your taxes, but if that's what you did last year, you're going to get some money back. Whether it's a few $100s or even several $1,000s, you should just take it and earmark it for your business startup. And here's one that's often overlooked: when you pay off previous loans. While it's not exactly a windfall, another thing you'll want to do is set aside money from loans that you've already paid off. In other words, if you're used to making a payment on a loan every month, keep making that payment, even after the loan is paid off. Except instead of paying it to a loan company, pay it to a special savings account for yourself. For example, let's suppose you were paying $500 on student loans every month. Once you've paid off that loan, you can start paying the $500 into a savings account. You can then invest this extra money in your business. It's important, too, that you set up a savings account just for this purpose. Ideally, you should have the new savings account automatically transfer money out of your checking every month, just like a bill. Otherwise, that extra money is probably just going to get absorbed into your regular monthly expenditures. If you want to make your savings goal official, which I recommend you do, then open up an account at smartypig.com. It's a site that allows you to save for specific activities or events, such as launching your business. Not only can you set up direct transfer from your existing accounts into your new savings account, but this is a great one, but SmartyPig also makes it easy for your friends and family to contribute to your savings account too. Now let's look at another common method for getting cash. Borrowing money from the big bad institutions. Okay, once people have exhausted all their other fundraising resources, they sometimes need to get a loan in order to bridge the gap between what they need to start the business and what they currently have on hand. However, this doesn't mean seeking out soul-sucking venture capital money or even money from angel investors. Instead, it means seeking out money from sources that don't require you to brand the loan agreement into your skin. There's several alternatives, and these include things like credit cards. Now, this is expensive money. You want to keep this to a minimum. But if you only need a relatively small amount to get started, maybe $1,000 for computers or similar equipment, then you might want to decide to charge it on the credit card. You might even look into applying for store charge cards, which sometimes offer no interest financing for 6 or even 12 months. If you pay off the loan before the term expires, then the loan is basically free, since you won't have to pay any interest. You want to keep in mind, though, that all the interest will likely accrue and show up on your statement as soon as the term expires, in which case you are back to borrowing expensive money. So get that turkey paid off before the 6 or 12 months free period. As long as you know about that gotcha, that's good free money. It's good to know about. Business loans from banks, another one that's often overlooked. Keep in mind that if you walk into a bank to secure a business loan, then you're going to need to produce all kinds of paperwork, including a business plan. Now, you can make it more simple and get a general loan from a bank. You can usually secure a smaller loan from your bank for general purposes. In this case, you won't have to produce all the necessary paperwork that a business loan would require. It's particularly true if you can put up something of value to secure the loan, such as an existing certificate of deposit that you hold at the same bank, or maybe a vehicle that you already have paid off and hold the title to. And lastly, there are loans and grants available from business-related institutions. If you live in the United States, then the first resource you'll want to check out is the Small Business Administration. The SBA.gov website has loan programs listed, as well as also resources pointing you towards other sources of funding such as grants. When you start digging around, you're going to find that certain industries have quite a bit of money available, almost for the taking. These are those such as those developing greener energy technologies. Please listen carefully here though. If you do borrow money, make it a top priority to pay it back as quickly as possible, because the longer your loan lingers, the more money you're going to have to pay in interest and fees. Not only can that be an unnecessary burden, but it'll put a pinch in your growing business's profits also. So let's have a look at one final way to raise the cash you need. Moonlighting. Moonlighting sounds so romantic, or like a clandestine affair. But of course what we're referring to here is taking on a second job, or more accurately, freelancing outside of your regular job. For example, if you're a writer, then you might offer copywriting and ghostwriting services to business owners. If you have some web design chops, you could moonlight on the side as a web developer. If you know a whole lot about something, whatever it is, you can take up consulting. And some people just prefer a bit of manual labor, okay? You might make yourself available for snow removal, lawn mowing, or yard work. Now, I know some of you who are watching this probably just wrinkled your nose up at the idea of starting to freelance or even taking another job in order to fund your startup. But remember, it's temporary no matter what you choose to do. If you do take on another job or start freelancing, you're certainly not going to be the first entrepreneur that's done so. Take the example of Debbie Heimowitz, a co-founder of the Adina's Deck series of anti-bullying videos. In 2009, the recession hit her business so hard that she had to take on a job. She worked 10 hours per week as an educational consultant while still directing 40 hours per week to her main business. Although it was challenging at times, that was enough to get Adina's Deck over the hump and get the company back on track. By 2011, Heimowitz had moved into other ventures, while her mother took over the reins on the Adina's Deck project. Point is here, entrepreneurs moonlight all the time as needed, not just when they're starting out. And besides, what a great story you'll have to tell your grandchildren when you sit them on your knee and tell them how you walked barefoot in the snow, uphill both ways of course, through molasses even, to get to the job you used to launch your business. They're going to be impressed. I know they will. All right, now let's wrap up this module, and we'll see you in the next section. It's time to unleash your ingenuity. Look, no one likes to talk about money. Well, that's not entirely true, now that I think about it. Those who have lots of it stacked up under their mattresses, they don't really mind talking about it. But for the rest of us, we really only talk about it when we're forced to, such as when we're explaining how a trip to the Bahamas is a tax-deductible business expense. But now is the time for you to strip yourself of any discomfort you have about money. Because in order for you to raise your startup funds, you're going to have to talk about money. You're going to have to think a lot about it. And yeah, you might have to have a few awkward conversations with your friends or with your family, especially if you approach them with your hat in your hand. Well, we're not going to call it begging. But don't worry about it. The discomfort will pass. Instead of thinking about the awkward conversations, think instead about how you will feel once you launch your business. Imagine the first sale coming in. Imagine growing your business to the point where it completely and comfortably supports you. The point is, if the whole money thing makes you uncomfortable, then you're going to be in for a rough ride. That's all there is to it. Change your thinking about money. Don't look at this as a taboo. You might find that raising the funds you need becomes easier than ever. But don't just limit yourself to the strategies we've talked about here. Go ahead and brainstorm for a while to figure out other ways to get the funds you need. Your ingenuity probably is going to surprise you. And be sure to use the planning sheets included in the manual to help you figure out the best ways to raise the funds you need. Now let me share with you a bit of wisdom and some closing thoughts. See you in the last module. All right, let's finish up talking about cliff diving. I bet you didn't know we were going to go there, right? Well, okay, that's not really it, but it's not far off, okay? You know, you've heard that necessity is the mother of invention, and right now you have a business idea burning up inside of you. It's the kind of passion that keeps you awake at night. It gets you jumping out of bed in the morning, eager to get back thinking about and working on your idea, right? You're so excited about turning your business dream into reality, and you just can't imagine not pursuing this dream. Look, I'll tell you, that's necessity if I ever heard it. And if you allow yourself an open mind, you're going to find out you'll be able to tap into all sorts of wonderfully inventive ways to bootstrap your business and raise all the funds that you need. You are going to have to take a risk here and there. You're going to have to believe in yourself and your business idea. But Kurt Vonnegut summed it up nicely when he said, "We have to continually be jumping off cliffs and developing our wings on the way down." That's where you are right now. You're standing on the edge of the cliff of your business dream. And if you want to launch it right, you're just going to have to jump. Fortunately, this course provided you with the tools you need to get your business off the ground, no matter what your budget is. This includes the planning sheets and checklists that you'll find inside the manuals that accompany the course. I strongly urge you to take advantage of these tools by putting them to work immediately after this video ends. Now, one warning here. The worst thing you can do is raise a bunch of money and throw it at a bad business idea. Equally bad is to throw the money into advertising before you've really thought about how you're going to position yourself in the market. Listen, you don't want to do either of those. And fortunately, both of those problems are easily avoidable, especially if you take the other two courses in this series. The first course will have you developing, refining, and testing your business idea in as little as 48 hours. When you sign up for Course 2, you'll find out how to effortlessly draw customers to you while crushing the competition with a strong brand. Don't start a business until you've taken this course. If you haven't already registered for these two courses, I strongly urge you to go ahead, register for one or both of them right now. You can do this at the link that's showing on your screen, which is www.successhive.com. I recommend that you register for these courses now before you forget. And after you've registered, then your next step is going to be easy. Go to the manual that accompanies this course and start working your way through the planning sheets and checklists. Because the sooner you develop your bootstrapping and funding strategy, the sooner you can get your business off the ground and turn your dreams into reality.